winning position in her match against Alexandra Gorichkina. But once more, Alexandra manages to survive this, takes advantage of that one inaccuracy in the endgame to hold a draw. Simon, what are the chances of us going into a 10+10 in these matches?
Pretty high. I mean, there were two very exciting draws there. I mean, they both could have been decisive games. I mean, I think Sadamova's play was excellent for like 99% of the game. It's just that one move, wasn't it, where she went a little bit too aggressive, Tanya. I mean, she played so well, but then she gave up that rook. She didn't need to give up that rook, but credit to her opponent, Alexandra, for holding the draw. And obviously in the game between these two players, we can see here in the open section, well, Fabiano had his chances as well, Tanya, but Pragg defended brilliantly at the same time. So tense game now.
And that's what makes chess so heartbreaking at times. You make 40 really good moves, you play incredible chess, but then just one inaccuracy and one bad move, and it all comes to nothing. It just slips out of your hand, or in this case, out of the bag, as we were talking about it. But it's go time. Action has started, and we see another London on the board.
Wow. Well, maybe it's going to be a Jabava London, one of my favourite openings. Let's see. And yeah, this is really getting very popular now. And we see Fabiano playing one of the most sensible options against it. And Bishop F5. We talked about how this move is becoming.
So Fabi says not allowing it. Stops it with Rook to A7. Still everything under control.
Now I guess Pragg can start trying to get his king in, get the king towards the action zone. You can see he's heading for that. This is going to be a really exciting blitz finish on the board. They're both under a minute, and I could just be who cracks first. White certainly has a bit more pressure. Even the evaluation bar says it's even. White's rook more active. White's knight more active. Black's knights get in the way of each other. Probably should be a draw, but you've got to work for this draw. Fabi bringing his king around to defend his queen side, so he wants to get it on this area of the board, and I guess Pragg can do the same, bring his king around to where the action is. Body language, Pragg seems so energetic, doesn't he? You can see he's getting right into the zone. He's bringing that energy to the board. King C7.
King C7 played, and Pragg can also start combining ideas with kingside pawn advances. We know the method of creating another weakness, the principle of two weaknesses, and I think he's going for that. You want to try to provoke some pawn moves on the king side. The f pawn can push forward as well. The g pawn can go to g5. The second g pawn can advance all the way to g4, and a potential break on f5 at the right moment. g5 also clamps down Black's pawn structure. f7, hard to imagine right now, but at some point can prove to be the second weakness in the position. So for Fabi, he needs to keep the queen side under control and always watch out for the king side pawn advances. Simon, I think f4, g4, f5, we're going to see this happen on the board.
Yeah.
They will become just nothing at all. feeling of things to lose hope. Baby, I am still going. I am even stronger now. Evil is lurking around you, and maybe I'm mistaken.
And you're right, the white pawn has got to g5, and Fabi with his last move is also trying to potentially use that rook in a more active way. The problem is if that rook ever moves, you just lose a pawn, and that makes the black rook really quite passive. I like this move because you mentioned how white was just going to use those pawns, and the more pawns that get exchanged, the nearer to a draw you get. And let's make this clear, it is black who at the moment would definitely take the draw in this position and go down to the quicker time limit. It's Pragg who is pushing with the white pieces. But this is a nice move, Tanya, right? Just swap some bits off, get it nearer to that draw. The time situation, Pragg 9 seconds. Whoa.
17 after that move, and Fabi hitting the 20-second mark. Also taking some committal decision. It just shows how much he understands these endgames and positions and knows the kind of trades, because these pawn moves, mere mortals like us would probably take so much more time in deciding moves like f6, e5. Fabi knows what he's doing. He knows he needs to try and trade off as many pawns on the king side as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and they got to make their decisions quickly there at the moment, because they're both now, Fabi now, 30 seconds, they're around that mark. They don't have time to, and this is a
Giving
pawn
the
sack.
a4 pawn.
He is.
Yeah, but he wants to come in with a check on d3, and then the g3 pawn is super weak as well.
Kind of liking what Fabi's doing here, because if bishop takes a4, as you mentioned, the rook can come to some great squares, and all of a sudden, you know, these knights also have roots in. So Pragg has taken the
We're
pawn.
going to see it. And I think the point is that once the king goes back to f2, defending g3, you'll always have a rook d4. You can start with trading on f4, takes on f4, and now rook d4 will not only hit the pawn on e4, but the knight on c4 as well.
Starts by taking on f4, you're right though, and the rook can now target the knight and the pawns here. Rook d4 played. The knight on b4 might be able to cause some problems with knight d3. The draw is most likely because of the limited material. White has that extra pawn, but black is active enough, and it's Pragg now who's getting shorter in time. He's got to be careful. He plays b3, just defending his knight, defending his bishop, and now it's equal on material. Rook takes e4 played here. The king has to defend that pawn. If you lose your f pawn, it's going to be bad news in the position. And very tense scenario. There's ideas with the knight coming to d4, but you can't do that because your rook's on pre here. And you know, there's action, by the way, just to let you know, in both games. The other ending in the women's section is really intense, but it does seem that's going to be a longer game, with Alexandra still trying to grind that one down. This one has quicker action, so let's just keep on this game for now, I think. And you know, it's tense, right?
And very tense. As you pointed out, it's key for white to keep that f4 pawn guarded, and black's got a nice rook posted on e4, just keeps it there with that last move f5. One gets the feeling that the worst is over for black. Fabi's got to feel relieved that he's gotten rid of that weakness on a4. He's kind of traded it off for a central pawn of Pragg, a very important central pawn, which has to favor black.
Wow.
And we see some trades happen here.
Wow. Well, look at this.
F4.
Well, look at this. It's a tactic. Rook takes f4, and we have a little tactic on the board. I mean,
this will end in a draw.
It will end in a draw, and yeah, it was a little tactic to swap things off. You can see both players have relaxed now, and the kings are targeting the enemy pawns, and there you go. A draw is agreed, and you can't break them down. These two, they're too close to each other, and
how awesome is that?